Hello and good afternoon. Thank you all for joining us. We will be continuing to go live to discuss deals. My name is Scott Lurie with the Hard Money Co. And we are talking real estate. We're talking your deals, live deals, answering a couple questions that have been submitted to us in advance of today's show. And if you have any questions you'd like to ask during the show, please put it in the chat. We'll be monitoring it, and we look forward to speaking with you. Today, I'm joined with Steve from the Hard Money Co. as well. Steve is an entertaining moderator,
Thank
and
you.
no problem. Keep making me smile.
That's great.
So Steve is going to help share a couple of the questions that were brought into us prior to today, and if you have any questions or would like to participate, please feel free to type in the chat. We are using a new platform. We are on YouTube Live exclusively today. So it's pretty exciting. So thanks for being here. And we will be broadcasting this for those that are not here live with us today. So thanks. So a little bit about the Hard Money Co., a little bit about the business, just to give everyone a background. I started my real estate journey in 2003. I started with not any experience. I had no money. And I just wanted to be wealthy. I wanted to build cash flow. I wanted to focus on what my future was going to be. And I only knew that I could be successful to the level I wanted to be was through real estate. That was it. I knew real estate was my gateway to the financial freedom and the generational wealth that I wanted to leave and have for my kids and the legacy that we're talking. And we'll talk a little bit about my son right now, who's a freshman at college, and his real estate journey seems to be growing. So food for thought. But I started with nothing, right? So the question is, can you build a $500 million, $1 billion portfolio in real estate from nothing to something in a period of 20 years or 10 years or 5 years? The answer is absolutely you can. We do it right now. I've been fortunate enough to come to this great place every day at F Street and the Hard Money Co. and finance people's dreams. We financed over $73 million of real estate investments last year for our successful database of investors that are making money with our money. God bless you guys. So that's today, right? So we want to talk, we want to have real talk, like what were my challenges? What is the ways to fund deals? We fund deals. It's that simple. If you have a deal and it's a real estate deal and you qualify under the very, very basic parameters, which we'll discuss, we fund your deals. So that's it. So thanks for being here, Steve. Thanks for always entertaining our audience and being part of this production. Steve, let's kick it off with, what I'm hoping would be the first topic that we received that we want to talk with the group.
Yeah. I've actually got a couple for you here. So
Great.
we'll go from the top. I actually wanted to just start kind of at the backside because you had said something, you started from nothing, here's where you are 20 years later. So we have somebody that actually reached out. So she's inheriting her mom's house. And wants it to be her first flip. She's just curious, kind of what that would look like and maybe highlight one or two pain points she may have moving forward and how she can set herself up for success.
Yeah, that's the legacy of a family member that you get to inherit their property, and then that can be the start of your real estate journey is a great story that should end with a rainbow, right? It should be one of those that you've been afforded a gift, which sounds like a free and clear, unencumbered piece of real estate that your family has left you. And so, there's a couple things there that in my opinion have to be dissected. One is the emotional side of the family relationship has to kind of be bifurcated, right? You have to kind of now look at it as, I've been left with a business. I need to make that business work. And that business is a piece of real estate that I got to fix and flip to sell or to put in a rental portfolio, right? You might be able to carry on the legacy of the family through a rental portfolio, or you might fix and flip this property and sell it. Passions start. This is how passions start, right? You were gifted something. You're going to turn lemon into lemonade, right? That's what we're happening. So we're going to take this home that's a lemon. We're going to squeeze it. We're going to make some lemonade out of it. And we're going to have some tears along the way. We're going to have some challenges along the way. We're going to have some financial obstacles along the way. We're going to have some contractor problems along the way. We're going to have a series of problems. But at the end of the day, if the mind is right, if we're focused on the prize, right? The prize is whatever your goal is, listener. If you're going to sell it. Let's just say it's a fix and flip.
I think that's what it is. Yeah.
Which is great. So you're going to fix and flip and we're going to make profit. Focus on the profit, right? The profit is the benchmark, the gateway for your next real estate. And so what you need to do is devise a plan, make sure you understand that plan, execute on that plan, keep it consistent, and get done in the fastest period of time. Our borrowers that pay off our loans in under 6 months from start to finish are the successful ones.
Absolutely.
We have some that do larger rehabs that take longer. The ultra successful ones are paying off in 6 months. And those parties, just so you understand, pay off to the day of 6 months or sooner.
Yeah.
And most of those are fix and holds, right? They're buying and holding these assets.
Sure.
But urgency, time equals money. It's the oldest saying in the world, but it's so true. Time equals money. And if you just keep saying that to yourself, time. Today you did what? Tomorrow you're doing what? Time equals money. So long as you're in that mindset, you're going to be in great shape. So create the plan.
Yep.
So first of all, make sure the house is titled right. Through inheritance, there might be probate, there might be various different title issues. Make sure that the title is in your company's name, your LLC, whatever you want to call it, and make sure you own it in that entity. Make sure that title's vested properly.
Okay.
Then fix the property, and then sell it.
Awesome. I think that covers it.
Yeah.
One of the next questions is one that we get all the time. My credit isn't great. How can I improve it?
Yeah. We just had this whole discussion about credit a little while ago. Credit, I think credit, if you take the reason how credit has become such a leading indicator of why and how people will perform, right? What is the purpose of credit? The reason credit is so valuable, the reason a credit report exists and people rely on these things with tremendous implications is history is often bound to repeat itself. What does that mean for credit, right? If you're a payer, if your obligations, if you were taught your financial stake is important, you make a decision for your creditor.
Absolutely.
I have instilled in my son that he should get a credit card at the ripe age of 18. And that's not where the conversation ended. He should never carry a balance. He should spend within his means, and he should always pay his balance off in full every single month to establish credit. So as an 18-year-old, he got a credit card, and he pays it off every month. I get a copy of it. I see what's going on. I'm watching it. Even though he's 18, I'm still his dad.
Yeah.
But credit's important, and people have to be trained at the youngest age. And if you're not trained today, train yourself. It's really basic training. If you have a financial obligation, you must pay it, and you must pay it on time. Pure and simple.
Yep.
If you have an obligation that you don't think you can afford, don't take the obligation. So what happens is people take an obligation and then life happens, right? Yep. They lose a job. Then they can't afford it anymore. That impacts their credit. And then when you get into the nuances of it, like what really happens? Why did you lose your job? I don't know. Well, what really happened? Like there are life events that are all avoidable as you consider the concept of credit. So my concept is do not overspend. Do not take on financial obligations you can't afford.
Yep.
You can't hope that tomorrow you could afford something you can't afford today. It does not work. And have a rainy day fund and solution, right? Plan. It's so critical that you think about it. The brightest in the world, some people don't understand, credit is basic. It's an obligation, and it's your history to pay the obligation. If you have negatives or a payment cycle that shows negatives, or you have too much credit, debt on the credit you have, you're a concern for people, right? Because if the shoe falls, if you lose your job, that one can't get paid, that one can't get paid, that one can't get paid, you're in trouble.
Absolutely.
And so you have to be really mindful of the financial obligations you're taking on and your ability to repay. And there should not be, which we see all of the time, the excuses. The excuses are a bunch of nonsense of what makes you potentially feel better about your lack of ability to do something. Because here's what I've found. If somebody has the money, they're going to pay.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
If they don't have the money, it's not that they don't want to, they cannot pay, right? You cannot, if I owe you $5 and I don't have $5, I physically cannot pay you.
Yeah.
And if you're a credit agency or you're someone that reports to an agency, if I don't pay you, you mark it as a negative. And with a 30-day late or a 60-day late or a 90-day late, your credit score gets hammered.
Absolutely.
And when it's hammered, the recovery on it is not overnight.
Yeah. It's years usually,
It's
right?
years. So your one missed payment because, oh, I didn't get the mail excuse, or I forgot excuse, or who the hell knows whatever excuse is there, doesn't really pan out. And so you have to be mindful of that.
Okay. I think those are all some really good points. So then the next one that we got as well is somebody's looking at doing their first project. They're hopeful to save some money and do the work themselves. Can you talk about maybe some concerns with them biting that off?
Well, yeah. So, I always think about this because when I did my first units, when I fix and so I'm not technically savvy enough to do drywall.
Yep.
I admire the folks that do drywall, but I don't know how to do drywall.
Yeah.
I don't know how to put on a roof. I don't know how to install a window. Yes, I can watch YouTube. Yes, I'm capable to probably learn how that all plays out, but I'm not qualified. If you're qualified as a skill set to do it, it's great. It's a great savings, right?
Yep.
We do a lot of business with contractors who are good at certain work and other work they're not good at. And so the result of those two things is they kind of set up their world to make it all work, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you just have to be mindful of it. If you're going to do something, are you going to come, like, for example, painting is one of those things that most people could do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And are you going to do that in exchange for what? To save a couple grand? Sure. If you're going to go learn how to hang drywall on YouTube because that's your solution to save some money, my suggestion is you're barking up the wrong tree to be efficient, because that drywalling crew that's going to come in and put up that drywall will be in and out of your property in a day.
And time is money, right?
Time is money.
Yeah.
Good one.
I brought that back around for you.
I like it. That's the truth. Time is money. Come on. Time is money.
Okay. And then one of the other ones we got is, people understand what the BRRRR strategy is. That being said, can you just walk them through maybe once the property is fixed up, like what kind of financing would they look into to pay our loan off or whatever they're ended up doing?
Yeah. So this is the secret sauce, right? Whatever people want to focus on, what I focused on, what made me successful was my ability to leverage a finished asset at its highest value, right? So part of my mission was, part of what I did really well at was I would buy something for X, I would improve it and make sure that the Y, the delta that I'm creating, was validated through an appraisal.
Okay.
And this is how I grew my business, right? I started with nothing. I bought a duplex and I got my first duplex, 4577 North 37th Street. I bought it. I fixed it up. I renovated it. I tenanted it. I paid it off on a 10-year fixed note with State Financial Bank here in Wisconsin. But what I was able to do is I got 100% leverage on that loan. So what does that mean? I bought it. I put money into it, including the purchase price and all the money I had into it. At the end of the day, when I finished that process and a new tenants in it, I had $0 invested. So having $0 invested, meaning I got a cash out refinance to have $0 invested. When I have $0 invested, guess what I could do with the rest of the liquidity I have?
Another project.
Do more, right? Keep moving the pendulum, right? And I was very good at making sure that what was valuable. What's the most valuable part of that process? The appraisal. What are you doing when you go to an appraisal, folks? Are you meeting with the appraiser? Are you on time? Are you professional? Are you offering some charisma and some concept of like, hey, here's what I'm looking to get done? Are you telling the appraiser your business plan? You should.
Absolutely.
Because if you're not advocating for yourself, here's what I can tell you is happening. They're not advocating for you. I'm advocating for myself. I just finished a 200-unit apartment complex in Oak Creek, Wisconsin, 200 units. And the appraisal was yesterday. And so my lender, who I'm working with, we're on a HUD loan, is working on this appraisal. And it's so important, every line item that happens. And so we're going through this and spending the time to make sure that the appraiser understands what we're trying to get done. It's a difference of, the difference can be millions of dollars, millions, based on a $40,000 NOI or a $80,000 NOI or a $300,000 NOI. So sorry for the long-winded answer, but the answer is this is what my secret sauce was. Before BRRRR was created, before the acronym was created, which is a great acronym, we called it value-add investing, right? We would take something, add value, and refinance. Buy low, refinance high. And then along that entire way, you have to be fiscally responsible. You have to not take the money that you get from a cash out and do something stupid with it. Buy something that's immaterial. Buy material goods like something stupid, a car. Who gives a shit? No one needs the car. Yep. Buy another building. And I always tell people, buy buildings, buy buildings, buy buildings. And so long as you can execute on the BRRRR strategy, which has gotten very popular over the internet, the concept makes a lot of sense, right? You're going to buy it. You're going to then do what? Renovate it. So the renovation has to be quality. I did the BRRRR strategy on a property, a beautiful duplex in a really nice neighborhood. I've had tenants in there. The rents have gone from $1,200 a month each side to now $1,700 a month each side. Whoa. And it keeps going up. The neighborhood's growing and I'm doing nothing different. And I keep the tenants for 3 to 5 years at a crack because the renovations were done great 10 years ago. You know how much I put in the property over the last 10 years? Zero. Put a new roof on it. I maintained the property. It's aces. But those are the renovations. So the buy, the renovate. Yep. Renovate is important. Make sure you're doing good quality renovations, not lipstick on a pig. You want to do quality renovations that can last. You want to fix the plumbing problems. Because if you're going to be the landlord, you know how many times I've gone out there to fix the plumbing? Zero. I don't have any of those problems. Buy, renovate. Then you've got to rent, right? So how do you create the value? Well, you buy it low, you renovate it to improve. What are you trying to improve? The rental income at the end of the day, right? Yeah. People lose sight of what it is, but I'm trying to improve the building to get more rent. So when you, Steve, come and look at my duplex and you're looking to buy something, to rent something, you're like, wow, the improvements are great. I can see myself living here. I'm willing to pay your $1,700 a month. Certainly. If you pay the $1,700 a month, that is what drives what? Our NOI, right? Our net operating income. Yep. So you got to buy, you've got to renovate, you've got to rent, right? And now the important swing comes in your refinance, right? And when we refinance, traditionally those loans, as you asked as part of your question, are what they call a DSCR loan, right? Sure. A debt service coverage ratio loan, which takes your coverage, and usually you want to be 1-to-1 or 1.2, but it's all about your income. Income to expenses. Yep. And so you want to manage that during the process to get your refinance done, because once your refinance gets done and you could pull out 100 or 105 or 110% of the value, you're a winner. We're winning, right? Yeah. And then the best part of the entire BRRRR strategy, I'm so glad they tacked on this other R. And I don't know why they didn't add like 5 more R's, because we probably could have added a few more to the list. I don't know what they are actually. What would be a few others we could add? Like, I don't know. But the ultimate one: buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and then the best one all, the addictive part. Real estate's addicting. It's the most addicting drug in the world. But what is the next one? We're going to repeat. So we're going to do it again and again and again and again. And if I look at my start at 2003, when I bought my first property, I then went from 1 property to 8 properties. All of a sudden I had 1,500 apartments. 1,500. And I wake up the next morning and I look at the 1,500 apartments and I'm like, wow, I'm so fortunate because I have $0 invested. So I built a portfolio with $0 invested. And you can do that too. It's the name of the game in real estate, and power of leverage. The way the leverage pool works and the way the business flows allows you only in the real estate space to be successful.
That makes sense. Somebody had mentioned repay.
Yeah, repay. That's the refinance.
Going back to credit.
Yeah, refinance, repay. That's a good R. Any other R's out there? I'm trying to think of a few. I'm not good at like the on-the-spot thinking, but I think like buy, renovate. I like those words. Like I like the whole concept. Just think there's got to be a few more R's because BRRRR doesn't have to end at repeat, right? It can keep going, but all right. I guess a t-shirt probably wouldn't fit with that many R's.
I mean, maybe we'll just add some for next episode or whatever we're doing.
Yeah, that's good. I like it.
All right. And then somebody had asked, how are you finding affordable quality contractors today? It's impossible.
It's impossible. Darn right. So here's what I've done. I latch on to people, right? So my characteristics of credit, right? Like what does a credit do? What does credit do for you, Steve? Or what does credit do for me? Is the same concept of like what when I call a contractor, his likelihood of answering.
Probably pretty good for you.
Right. But
Yeah.
if you say that,
Yeah.
so if you call a contractor and you say contractor and I call them on my phone and they answer every single time, you feel what? You feel
Important.
good.
Yeah.
But you feel important, but you
Yeah.
also feel like, man, he's good. Even in a bad day, he answers the phone or she answers the phone.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so how do you find these contractors? Here's the question I'm going to ask back to you, whoever asked the question.
Sure.
How much time are you spending to find the contractors? Because my guess is not enough. And here's why. The low-hanging fruit you can find like maggots, right? The fraudsters are all over Facebook. And these guys are fraudsters, and it's hard to believe like their mind. So it's hard to put my mind in their mind, right? Like people are out there saying they're going to go paint your house for you, and they want a $300 deposit, and then you never hear from them again. So they spent all that time curating you and messaging you back, and coming and looking at the job and giving you a quote, and then taking $500 and then disappearing. Right?
Yeah.
Fraud. It's like a lot of work.
Yeah.
Like if at the end of the day you did all of that work and painted the house and then got the $1,000, would you think that's like better than trying to find the next fraudster? So the answer is you're not spending enough time finding the right contractors. So they are out there. There are contractors that are out there doing really good work, but you have to find them at the right place. So a lot of people say to me like, oh, I went and I was at the bar and I found a contractor and can you believe it didn't work? I'm like, yeah, can.
That makes sense.
You found a contractor at a bar drinking.
Mm-hmm.
Let me guess where he is. At the bar drinking.
Yeah.
So where are you finding the contractors? I used to go to Home Depot to find contractors. I'd look for people that had nice trucks, that were dressed well, that were there, that looked presentable, that were looking, and I'd say, hey, you looking for more work? And I met multiple contractors that way. But it takes work. You got to sit in Home Depot for 8 hours.
Yeah.
And maybe 8 hours multiple times a day. References are important, right? Like, hey, give me your reference. Contractors and people become contractors because it's easy to do, right? If you don't have a degree in something else and you have a car or tools, you're a contractor.
Mm-hmm.
No one does tell you you are, you aren't. You want to be a painter? Go put up a sign that says you paint. Now you paint. What's your experience? Well, I don't know. So references, work quality, investigation, background checks on these folks. Like, hey, my contractor is really bad. Well, if you run his background, he's been committed of fraud 8 times.
Yeah.
You're going to be number 9.
That's a great point.
But people are like, I can't do a background check. Sure you can. It just costs you $35. You can do a background check. Get a signature that says you want a background check. Do a background check. Anything going to come up? If they have 18 DUIs, they're going to be a problem.
Yeah.
If they have financial crimes in their background, they're going to be a problem. If they have financial frauds, they're going to be a problem. If they're being sued by the last 10 customers they had for workmanship, they're going to be a problem.
That all makes sense.
Yeah.
And then one of the other questions we got is, what's the best way to invest, on flip houses? Should they look for single families or duplexes? Singles.
So you have to define your buy box. So finding the product, this question's a really great question. So the question is it singles or duplexes for fix and flips?
Yeah. Yep.
And the answer is single family homes work. So I used to have a really large buy box because I had a lot of people in my buy box, meaning I had teams and I had acquisition people and disposition people and I had construction crews and they kind of managed all of that. I was doing a lot of them.
Yeah.
And then as the world has changed, I still do 5 flips a year. I just finished one and it's under contract now to sell. And I've defined that buy box. I want to be in the suburbs. I want to buy at a certain value. And those are the things that just make my life easier, right? The more urban markets have a lot more risk exposure for break-ins. The suburbs don't, right? So that's one box I'm trying to check off.
Sure.
The buyer population, meaning the amount of houses in certain communities in the suburbs, have more demand than supply. So as you finish your product, you sell it faster. Less than a more densely populated area that have more product, then you have more things to look at that might not sell. So I've just created a buy box and then I focus on that buy box. So I'm looking specifically in those areas. I found the last 2 properties I flipped. The one that's just under contract today, I bought that one off of Facebook.
Oh, interesting.
So I monitor all of the Facebook chats just like you, and I find my buy box. I don't read the commentary of all the nonsense that's out there. No one cares. The only people that care are the ones that have the time to commit to the nonsense, right?
Yep.
This guy bought, I'm actually, you can almost forecast what the comments are based on and then you're like, oh, I was right, but the comments are all garbage because people have time and they use these platforms to complain at the end of the day or offer their opinion that no one really cares about. Mm-hmm. For me, I'm looking for deals. And so I take these things, I find a property. I found one Sunday morning. I was scrolling. New property came up in the area. I messaged the guy. I said, I'm interested. I'm a cash buyer and I'm going to close. I want to be out there. Can I get the lockbox? I went out there and within 8 hours, I was under contract. You can do it too. Yeah. It wasn't an exclusive Scott only Facebook page. Yeah. So they're out there. You just have to go out there, find your box. You can make a post like, hey, this is what I'm looking for. Define your buy box. The more criteria you put in there, the better off you are in getting the results.
Sure.
Because you're going to get, hey, I want to buy in this zip code. And then someone's going to say, well, I got one over here. Dummy, see above, right? Yeah. You're like, it drives you crazy, right? You're like, I do this. And then they're like, well, you should do that. Like, I'm not asking for your opinion or another area. This is what I want. This fits me. This is what's make my investments great. And I don't know what your investments are, right? But you almost have to laugh at what people put in the filler, right? Like all the nonsense. It's like, oh my God, that is so silly. But okay, so be it. So social media is great.
Sure.
The broker community is great, right? Like, hey, I got a deal. And like brokers get paid how? How do real estate agents get paid?
From the seller or from the buyer?
But they get paid at a closing.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. The certainty of them is only when they close, right? Spending time with you, talking to you, doesn't get them paid. Showing you the house doesn't get you paid. There's only one event that gets people paid. Answering your questions, listening to your life story doesn't get them paid. Going to the title company and closing gets them paid, period. That's it. So if you can tell them, here it is, limit the nonsense that all the other people put out there. Read all the nonsense. Mm-hmm. Oh, I walked into the basement of this house, right?
Yeah.
The basement looks perfect. And then the next comes, I got to do an inspection of the foundation. Then Scott comes in, walks in the basement, looks beautiful. I'm ready to go to closing. Here's my contract. Who are they selling the house to?
You.
Me.
Yeah.
Less aggravation, guaranteed money. Very simple. So social media is out there. I do comb MLS all the time. There's a new website, newer. It's called Privy, that helps find deals in markets. Privy, I think it's called. Privy.something. But it basically takes comparisons. I spent, believe it or not, $500 for the service for the year. Yep. And I use it. I go into markets. I find the properties that this identifies through their algorithm, and I call on them. So it cost me $500.
Yeah.
But I'm going to find a deal and make 150 grand. So that's how I do it.
That's worthwhile.
Yeah. I think return on investment's high.
Yeah, right. And then just one of the follow-up questions to that was, would you say duplexes are better for the BRRRR strategy? Just seems more efficient in their.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that scenario is great. I mean, I love duplexes. I love duplexes as a investment holding mechanism. I love them, right?
Sure.
One roof, 2 tenants. Normal home with one roof, you get $1,500 a month. 2 tenants, you're getting $3,500. I love the concept, right? It makes sense. You've got, 2 water heaters, but like okay, I put water in 12 years ago. I haven't even been back to check on it. Still
Yeah.
works.
Yeah.
I check on the house. They've got 2 people to take care of the grass and the snow versus 1. So yes, I mean, so once again, thanks for the comment. Find your buy bucks. You want to buy duplexes in this 10 to 100 block radius, right? Use 10 block radius and just focus on it. Focus and give me 80 hours of your week. Give me 80 hours in that 10 block radius. You're going to come out of there with a prize.
For sure.
You're not going to if you give yourself a 10 block radius and 1 hour. This doesn't work.
Yeah.
You get out what you put in. You get out what you put in. If you put in the energy, you're going to get it out.
Okay.
Work hard.
That makes sense. Those are the questions
Awesome.
that we have from today.
It's a great 30-minute session. I appreciate the feedback and the questions. If you have any other questions and want your question to be highlighted, you can submit it to us early, and we'll bring it forth. Our first time on YouTube Live exclusively was Peter. Thank you, a success, I think. And to our audience, thank you for being part of it. If you have a deal, we fund deals. If you have a deal, we fund deals. If you have a deal, we fund the deals. Bring your deals. Let's figure out a partnership. Let's figure out how we can help you. My name is Scott Lurie with the Hard Money Co. I'm joined with Steve Schraub, who's our sales manager here at the Hard Money Co. And I want to just thank you for helping moderate. Always. And I wish everyone a great weekend. There's a lot going on. Hopefully you're spending about 40 hours this weekend on real estate, learning, seeing, touching, doing. There's so much out there. I know that I'm going to buy a deal this weekend. I don't know where, but I feel it coming. So I'm going to be looking for a transaction. And I hope you do the same. Bring your success story to us next week. Thank you all for being here and have a great weekend.
Thank you.